Okay, Easter egg fun part 2, and I'm still in the creator level, and yes, you can create this lovely embroidered egg in the creator level. So also you will notice that I have a background of a different color on my workspace, and if you look really closely, I don't know if it'll show up in the video so well, there is quite a bit of texture in that background as well. Now I'll be doing a video on how to achieve that after I've finished the Easter egg series. There may be one more Easter egg video to go yet, so after that I will do a video on how to change your background, because it can be very useful to decide on your colours of your threads, for instance, if you have the background matching your fabric. Okay, if you don't want to miss that one, make sure you're subscribed. So just go down below this video and you can hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so that you get a notification when I post new videos. Okay, without further ado, we'll get on and learn how to do this. So I'll just go to my other design here where I've loaded my single outline egg. So you would have made that if you'd have watched the previous video on part 1 on Easter egg fun. If not, I'll put a link to that below as well. So you can go back and watch that one. Probably a good idea to watch that first before you continue watching this one. Alright, the first thing you would have noticed is that the border on the egg was not a single run, it was a satin, and that's really easy to change. All you do is select your object, your egg outlines. You can click right on the outline, or you can click on the outline in the colour film. I'm in colour blocks now, but because I've only got one object, it's the only thing showing. But if you want to show individual objects, if you've got more than one object, it's now actually showing the graphic, which I have hidden. So I've selected the outline and I'm coming down here to where my outlines options are and just selecting the satin outline, and it will immediately change to the satin outline. And I'm just going with the default settings, so I'm not going to object properties to change the width or anything. I'm just leaving it at the default. I think it's 3 millimeters wide. This is the same size egg that will fit in the this one will fit in the small hoop for the Berninas. Let me see if it'll fit in a square hoop now that it's satin, because if you make a satin outline, it's a little bit thicker and makes the design a little bit bigger. So there's my square 100 by 100. I'll go OK, and yes, it still fits in there too, so we're all good. Of course, you can make your egg bigger. I suggest you make it bigger before you convert it to satin, because when you make it bigger, it will actually make the satin stitches wider as well, and they may become too wide and be not nice to stitch out. So size your egg first for your project and then start your editing. Okay, I'm going to hide that hoop now, and we're going to put the flower in. So what we need to do is insert a design, because I used a design that's in the inbuilt designs in the software. Now I can't tell, because I've got both versions on my computer, for 100% sure that you have got this design in creator level, but certainly go through the inbuilt designs, and if you can't find it, find something else that will work. Okay, so to insert a design, we need to come up here to the zigzaggy line on the left, just after the undo and redo, and click on that, and we'll get a dialog, and that's going to, in my case, because the last time I was inserting a design, this is the location I was at, so it's defaulted to that. But you need to go to your libraries, so if you haven't if your dialog doesn't go to this location, go to your libraries. You can expand that out, click on embroidery, and then we'll expand that out. Public embroidery, expand that out. I'll just make this a bit wider so you can see. Bernina 9 embroidery, expand that out, and come down to floral and garden. So that's what I've got here, up the top here. So floral and garden folder is where I am at. And then you can just scroll down till you find that design that I had, which is the Daisy 2. It's an Art 80, so it was in the version 8 software as well. So if you've got version 8, you can do this as well. Okay, so we're going to select that design and open it. And for some reason, and I haven't quite worked out what's going on, it has come in because I can see it in the colour film, but I can't see it on the screen. So I'm going to come up here and zoom to fit, which will zoom out until it has every object you've got in the workspace showing. And you can see it's put it way over here. Maybe because this egg was not near the 0 when I started. Yours may come in, if your egg was near the 0, yours may come in on top of the egg. I'm just going to move mine over to the egg and then zoom to fit again, and it'll come back into the screen. It is grouped when you insert it, and that is a default setting, and you can change that so that it doesn't come in grouped, but it's much better that you have it grouped because you can move it around. Now, as you can see, it's a little bit too big for the egg. Most of it fits in there. So I'm going to position it so that most of it's there. And I love the curve of this design on the shape of the egg, actually. Now, you've got a couple of options. You can delete this part out of the design so that you just have the flower and the leaf. But just to make it a little bit more interesting, I'm going to show you how to move this and include it in the design. So we're going to move this and rotate it till it fits up here. And I just think it fills up that blank space there a little bit, and so that's a nicer option, but it's entirely up to you. So if you're going to delete this area, this leaf here, all you need to do first of all is ungroup. So over in the colour film, just right click on the objects. If I go out of true view, you'll see I've actually selected the design, and if I right click on it, I can ungroup it by left clicking on the ungroup. Now each of these are individual objects. So we can find these objects. That's that piece, that's that piece, that's that piece, that's that piece, and that's that piece. So we could select all of those there by selecting the first one, going down to the last one, and once they're all selected, we can just hit delete on our keyboard and they'll be gone. There is a travel run from this leaf down to this leaf. I'll see if I can find that for you. If I zoom in, I might be able to see it. There it is there. I'll have to zoom right in. Okay, got it. That was so that you didn't have a jump stitch from this leaf to this leaf. It's much better to travel, if you can, underneath another object. It means the machine doesn't have to stop and tie off, and it's just a neater way to do things. But because we haven't got another leaf down here anymore, we can delete that as well. So I'll delete that. And now I'll just bring the true view back. You could just send this to your machine or export it in your machine format that is suitable for your machine, and I have a video on how to send and export your design ready to stitch, so if you're not sure how to do that, I'll link that below as well. And you can stitch this out. But what if you wanted to keep those leaves and put them up here instead? So we'll just undo and undo, so we've got everything back. Now, if I go out of true view, I still have these leaves selected. So just, if you're not, you can select them the way I showed you just a moment ago, and I would suggest you group them so that they stay together. So I'm going to right click on them. I could have right clicked on the colour film, Either works, and you can then click on group. And now I can move that object independently. Another thing I can do is rotate it. So I'm going to left click on it again, and you'll notice the handles are hollow now. They're not solid black. So if you get on one of the corner handles, doesn't matter which one, you will get a double-headed arrow, and then you can rotate that object. I'm just going to rotate it quickly in roughly to where I want it, and left click on it again to bring back my normal selection handles, which allows me then to move this design. I'm going to place it about here. I'm going to zoom in and make sure it's just under that petal there. Okay, now it's still poking out, so I need to rotate it a little bit more. I'm going to left click on it. I'm going to get my rotation center, which is this round circle with the dot in the middle. I'm going to left click and drag that down because I want that point down there to stay where it is. So now my center of rotation is down here. Now I can grab one of these corner handles and rotate it, and you'll see it's moving with that piece staying exactly where it is. Now I just want to get it just inside, but it's actually covering that petal now, so maybe I need to bring it down a little bit to this one. So I'm going to rotate it back just a little bit. Whoops. Every time you do that, rotate again, the center of rotation moves back to the center. So just remember, if you need to rotate it on the same point, you have to move this center of rotation every time. I'm just going to move this down to this petal here. See if I can get it to fit here. Okay, click on it to rotate, bring my center of rotation down to the bottom and rotate. I'm still struggling to get it in the hole. I'm going to try moving the whole design across a little bit. So I'll just rotate that back just a little bit so it's not, whoops, forgot to move my center of rotation, didn't I? Just going to move that down to there. Rotate that back so it's not covering that petal, it's just touching it, and it's just going in here. So I'm going to bring back my normal handles, click off so nothing's selected, and I'm going to select the whole design. Now when you use your box select, if you don't include all of the pink border, that won't select. You have to have all the objects have to be inside the box. So I can easily box select just the design, and now I can just move the whole thing across a little bit and maybe up a little bit to get to a little bit slightly fatter part of the egg. And it's just touching there, so I'm just going to nudge it back with my right arrow on my keyboard. And let's zoom in here. This one's just touching, so I might just rotate that one a very slight amount. So I need to select the green leaves there. I'll try and box select them and make sure I don't select anything else. Yes, that worked. So I can left click again, move my center of rotation down to the bottom, and then rotate ever so slightly. Let's zoom in. I'm just clearing that satin stitch now, so I'm happy with that. And click off and go to True View to see what it looks like. And again, here you are, you can send this off to your machine to stitch. But remember that travel run. That travel run is traveling to where this set of leaves originally started. So if I go out of True View and go in here, you might be able to see this little triangle here and circle here. So this is where the travel run ended, and this is where my petal is starting. So I need to edit that travel run so that it finishes where my leaves are starting. So I need to find it, and it's pretty easy to find because it's a really wiggly line. There we go, in the colour film. But if not, zoom right in and try and click on the green line. It's green in this design and not the petal, and select it that way, or just select an item and travel through by tabbing and you will get to that line. Once you've got it selected, you need to go to the reshape tool, and that will give you your nodes that were originally put in to digitize that line. And what we need to do is look where we want to go. So I'm happy with it leaving this leaf and traveling down to here, but this is where I need to change the direction. So let's move the very end node first of all up to the start node. That got rid of the jump stitch. Now I'm going to move this node up to here so that I can go up around this petal and there. So let's move my nodes. Don't worry too much about how weird it looks for the moment. That node I really need is a curved node, so I've selected it and I'll press my space bar. Now that's a curved node as well. So I can go up here and I need that one to be a square node. So press my space bar and I've got a square node in there. Now I need to add some nodes to get this to work nicely. So let's just move this node over here a bit. And so I'm traveling around the edge because it's less obvious, especially when you've got a darker color thread. It doesn't show up so much. And be careful that you don't use a really dark color under a light cover stitch, because you may see it and then you might have to just resort to jump stitches. I'm going to right click on the line here to add a curved node, and that's given me that node, and then I can bring that in, and I'll just move that across a bit. Let's just zoom in. I'm not inside far enough yet. I'll add another curved node there and bring that in even more. And you just keep fiddling and adding nodes as you need them. So I've just added another right node there to get around there, and I'm happy with that. Let's go out of the reshape tool, so we'll select it again, zoom out, click off, and go to true view, and I can't see that line anywhere there, so I've been successful in reshaping that nicely. So if I go really close in, I can just see it there actually. I can see a bit of green, so I'll go out of true view, and if I look closely, there's a bit of a gap there in the design. I'm not sure it will show up actually because I'm zoomed in so far whether it will show up, but I'm going to move it across just to be sure. So I'm going to select that, reshape it, and just bring that node in a little bit further, and go back to true view and select it and click off, and I can't see it anymore. It just filled that little gap there, and I'm sure, as I said, I'm zoomed in 3025 times, so I'm sure in the scheme of things it probably wouldn't have showed, but just to be careful, to be safe, I've reshaped it. Now if you want to change the border to match a colour in your design, for instance the lime green of the leaves, then you need to select your border, and if you come to your colour bar here, you'll notice that at the very beginning the colours of the design are shown, and they all have a little blue box in the top right hand corner. When you hover over them, they'll get a black box around them, but they have a little blue box right in the top corner. These colours are the colours from the design. They put them at the beginning of the colour bar, the colour bar, so that you can access them quickly. So I've got my pink outline selected, and I can just come down to this lime green, which was the leaves and stems, and left click on it, and now my border matches my leaves. I could have chosen any of the colours in the design, and of course you can change the whole design colours as you see fit, and I'll be talking about colours in a future video as well. Okay, that's ready to send off to your machine. So that's a lovely exercise. You can do this, of course, in Designer Plus as well, and you can use other designs. So depending on the size of your egg and what designs you use. I wouldn't resize these designs that you're adding more than about 20%. To make sure that they stitch out nicely. But if you need to resize them slightly, then by all means do that as well. I hope you enjoyed that video. The next video will be for Designer Plus owners, because there's some things you can do to decorate this egg in Designer Plus that you can't do in Creator Level. So hopefully you'll enjoy that one. And as I said, look out for that background video in the not too distant future. Thank you very much.